most accounts, the residents of Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, are the salt of the earth. Residents work the land as coal miners or work as guards in Housedale State Prison. Clearfield County is God's country for those who delight in small-town life. It is the third largest county in square miles, yet ranks 36th in terms of population. The crime rate is low, and everyone knows everyone in the small towns that cluster the county. The night of January 31st, 1995, and the events of the following 3 days would shake the faith and beliefs of these residents to the core, as they realized for possibly the first time that their towns were not immune to horrific crime. On that Tuesday night, 23-year-old Mark Spotz was dozing on the sofa in the living room of his mother's house. Spotz's 17-year-old girlfriend, Christina Nolan, sat beside him. Also present in the home were Spotz's brother Dustin, his girlfriend Doris Anderson, Doris's 14-year-old son, Kenneth Chucky Levine, Spotz's mother, stepfather, and his 2 young children. What appeared to be a typical family evening, even for this dysfunctional family, would erupt into violence, setting forth a chain of events that would terrify half the state of Pennsylvania for 3 days. The quiet in that house in Chestnut Grove on that night was shattered when Chucky Levine decided to mess with Spotz. Spotz was admittedly terrified of rodents, so the idea of putting a gerbil in Mark Spotz's face as he dozed was probably not the best idea Chucky Levine ever had. In retaliation, Spotz bolted from the sofa and threatened to beat his head in. While most families have someone who acts as the voice of reason, someone who could have said, "Mark, it's only a gerbil," or "Chucky, that was wrong, apologize," this person did not exist in that house on that night. This person did not exist in that family at all. Dustin, who had a well-documented history of mental illness and who commented to anyone who would listen that he would kill himself one day and someone in his family would help him do it, defended his girlfriend's son. Dustin headed upstairs commenting, "What do I have to do to get Mark out of the house? Burn it to the ground and kill everybody?" Jean Newfer, Spot's mother, had no desire to calm her son. She yelled after him, "Does that mean your bitch and her kid too?" This was an all-too-typical occurrence for this family. Fights would often erupt, threats would be made, violence would ensue, verbal and physical arguments took place in the home, the front yard, the grocery store. Their reputation preceded them. The argument took over the tiny kitchen. There was yelling from all sides. Dustin responded to the confusion by stabbing his brother twice in the back with a butter knife. Spotz left the kitchen and bolted up the tight staircase. Doris Anderson and Christina Nolan followed him. Spotz retrieved a 9mm handgun, and Doris Anderson begged him, "Please don't do this." Spotz pulled up his shirt and showed his 2 wounds, later described at trial by Doris Anderson as 2 tiny marks right on his shoulder blades. Spotz returned to the kitchen. Jean Newfer stood between her 2 sons, screamed how worthless they were and how she never wanted them. She controlled her sons like puppets on a string, and knew just what to say to bring the argument to a fever pitch. Then everything stood still on that January night in 1995. Mark yelled for Daryl Newfer to get out of the way and began firing. Mark Spotz fired the gun at his brother 8 times. Dustin was hit twice, once through the heart and once through the left lung. Both shots were rolled fatal. Per Doris Anderson's court testimony, prior to leaving the home, Spotz stood over his dying brother and spat on him. During his trial, Spotz denied taunting his dying brother and attempted to convince the jury that he rolled his brother over before leaving the house to keep him from choking on his own blood. During one of our visits, Spotz told me he turned around prior to leaving and saw his mother dip her finger into Dustin's blood and put it in her mouth. When I asked why, Spotz replied, "She likes sick stuff like that." Please come back next week for the next installment of my documentary Spree Killer, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.